Check. All right. Are we live? All right. Morning ToorCon. Welcome back. All right. Come on, energy. How'd you like the pancakes? Good? Awesome. All right. We have a few announcements that we want to do really quickly. This afternoon, Metasploit's doing 2 workshops. There's cool changes to the framework at 220 and at 320, investigating when you've been owned. And there are still a bunch of name stamps next door. If you want to name stamp your dog tags, you can go ahead and put your name on there. No Starch Press is here, and there is a really cool exclusive book that they've released here at ToorCon. You can get 30% off of it. It's Android Security Internals. You also get the free ebook. The talks are all for sale, everything that we had here this weekend, and then also everything that is from prior cons. Many of them are out there. Ted is selling them at a very reasonable price, so go talk to Ted and his team. And let's see, I think with that, I'm going to introduce FuzzyNop with his talk on how now it is personal Red Team Anecdotes. Give him a warm welcome.
Hey, people that just walked in, I don't think that one's going to end up working, so there's plenty of seats over on the side if you want to come over and actually see the slides, but that's probably not that important. All right. Anyone seen Rick and Morty before? I mean, B5? Hey, by the way, we're not playing that drinking game this time. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen that before, but that's a taste. So this talk is about getting personal. I'm FuzzyNop. Let's get personal. Here's my About Me slide. That's it. All right. So I really like Rick and Morty. Let's pretend that they've given us the go-ahead to red team the show, and maybe like steal everything from season 2 that's coming up, storyboards, recordings, release dates, or whatever. So let's play pretend. So first step, building out a social docket on everybody. Creepy Google Doc that we're going to make that contains personal profiles on people that are important to obtaining our objective, which is stealing Rick and Morty stuff, but not for real. This is just pretend. It's kind of. So we're going to manually build out profiles on people with their picture, with links to all their social media and notes. And we're going to do this manually because we'll actually learn about them while we're doing this. And having all this information in our brain is going to be important. So you're probably thinking, man, that sounds creepy. Yeah, and time consuming. And what if my company that I'm targeting is really big, right? Well, I'm not targeting Cartoon Network, or I wouldn't be, hypothetically. And if it is really big and they have a lot of employees, we have to focus in on the thing we want, right? So I don't care if you work at the large company. I care if you work on the thing that I want to get to. So let's start finding people. Pull up LinkedIn, quick search, open up everyone's profiles, and we're going to spider out from there. Now, part of our creepy status is that while we're going through and building out these profiles, we're going to screenshot everything. Now, we're going to upload these screenshots to Google Drive, and Google's going to do something magical. It's going to OCR all the screenshots. And then I'll be able to do a text search on everything that I've seen while I'm building out these profiles. So in case I miss something, I might be able to find it later. Now, Google Drive can't do searches that are limited by a folder. So what we can do is we can name our screenshots cleverly so that when we're searching for things, we can separate the person that we were building out the profile on. We'll be able to see that information. And we'll also be able to separate different engagements, right? We don't want cross-contamination. So we'll be able to do that just by renaming our screenshots. That's how you do it on OS X. That's what I use. And then we can also make the uploading easier by dumping everything directly into Google Drive. That's the command to do that as well. So here's the first guy I started looking at. Mr. Brent, seems like a cool guy. Start at LinkedIn, screenshot, put his LinkedIn address in my document. Get information about where he works, where he went to school, his Google Plus profile, personal website, Twitter. All this stuff is going into our document. Also his Facebook page. This was really interesting. His about, it's like totally wide open. He's got phone number. He's got email. He's got his Skype and his AOL Instant Messenger. I wish I was doing a talk about pwning people through AOL Instant Messenger, but sadly not. So we basically continue this process for as many people as possible. This was the next guy I clicked on, and he didn't work there anymore, so I just screenshotted his LinkedIn page, moving on. This person works on Rick and Morty season 2. Great. Do the same exact process, and the same exact process for another one. In the end, you end up with something like this. Little profile on him, links to all the pages, important information, any notes that I have about this person, and then I have it for a few other people too. This person, also this person. Now, this person I didn't feel like I got very personal with. Maybe I was just being lazy because I was doing this for a few hours already. So maybe there's something else that I have, my pile of screenshots. So if I go back in my screenshots and I search for this guy, Maximus, what comes up is Brent. Oh, why is Maximus's name in Brent's screenshot that I was taking? Well, I didn't notice this before while I was doing my first initial wave of recon, but these guys hang out in real life. They're friends. Maximus and Brent. Cool. Thank you, Google. That was very helpful of you. So we can also see things like common, like university. So I'd search for Texas. I get 2 different people that went there. Now, why are we doing this? Is it just to be creepy? No. We're building out these profiles, and it's so that we can find someone to attack, kind of. The target is not the person in the profile as much as it is finding someone to become, so that then we can leverage the connections that they have and the, who they are as a person, and spider out from there and use that to form like a really great attack. Now, I only built 3 profiles, first 3 people I came across that worked there, but all 3 end up being connected in some way. That's pretty interesting. I would typically spend about a week doing this, build out 30 or more profiles until I have something that I'm like, for sure, this is great. More profiles, more connections, more attack surface. So, time to put our recon to use. Google's going to help us again. We're going to pick someone cool, like Brent, and we're going to register a similar email. I tacked a 1 onto the end of his email, and now we're going to become my man. So, look like other fish, right? Google Plus, let's duplicate it. This is his original Google Plus profile. Here's his new one. You're welcome, Brent. Now I got 2. So, standard phishing. We can leverage this standard phishing. It's going to make things better. Now, I like to do phishing in 2 steps. Instead of like going straight for the attack, straight for the punchline where I'm dropping the jar on people, I'd like just spray out, see if they're going to bite, see if they're going to respond to me and think that I'm the person that I'm pretending to be. And then if they are, I have them on the thread, I just reply, and then I hit them with the punchline. Way better than spraying everything out. And you want to lead with something catchy, like, where are my testicles, Summer? No, don't do that. So here's my standard punchline or something like it, right? We attach the jar to the email. We're like, hey, does this layout look okay on your computer screen? It's fine on my laptop, but my mom said it looks bad on her computer. Thank you for decorating this email, Google, for us. This is great. We got his picture, we got his name. We have a recent post that I copied. Looks good. This works well because standard Gmail accounts don't block jars. They block EXEs and other bad things, but jars couldn't hurt a fly. However, companies that use Google Apps know about this, and they block jars. They often do this. However, Google's going to help us some more. They're like, yes. We upload our blocked file type to Google Drive and share it right on out to our victim. And they get an email that looks like this, even better. So if you notice, Google's sending the email on our behalf. The additional length in the subject field sometimes will push the email off the screen, depending on the window size. That's convenient. It doesn't always do that. Depends on what the kind of monitor, but could be useful. And it decorates it the same way, and it looks pretty legit. Google serves up our file. They download it. Pretty good. And you're probably thinking, well, that probably doesn't work on EXEs. Well, you bet your ass it does. Thank you, Google. So Google Drive, Google Plus, we can use to do more effective standard phishes, where we send something and we look really legit. However, that's not really personal enough. Hangouts. Hangouts are personal. Really personal, happens in real time. We get direct feedback, and they never see my faked email here. So that's cool. How do we get that? Well, there's a few caveats. First, message that I send to them is going to cause something like this to show if they have the standard settings. If they say no, the next message I send and then the other one after that is going to look like this. You notice my name, Brent Knoll, is no longer on it. Now we look pretty spammy. If we keep messaging them, they'll get a chance to block us, and they keep saying no. So that kind of sucks. We should be mindful of that, but here's something great. If we add a target to a circle on Google+, suddenly they get this in their notifications. Look how legit that looks. What a convenient button to click add. Also, in case they missed that, here's an email too. Now, if you notice this email, where's my fake email? My pretend email? Not there. Pretty nice. And with default settings, if they add us back to the circle, they don't get that funky message when we message them. They get the message straight away. That is convenient. So one thing we could do is after we build our profile, we could go through Google Plus and just spray and add as many targets as possible. Anyone that comes back that we don't have a profile on, we could build one out for them, leverage the connections that we have. Might be an easy way in. Does it work? Yeah. These two people added me back instantly while I was making the slides. Great. So let's pretend we get a shell already. So the one time this really did not work is that the person I was pretending to be was literally standing right next to the person that I was targeting. Yeah, well, delete that Google profile, move on. Doesn't hurt, we still got in, it was great. So let's assume our malware gives us an interactive shell. Here's my favorite thing right now. OSA script. What this allows us to do, if you haven't seen this already, is literally ask the person sitting at the computer for their password. We type this into the command line over our shell, they get this, they type their password in, it gets echoed right back to the command line. Works every time, actually 100% of the time. So someone was very kind, Mr. Heinzarelli, to write it up, a lovely write-up about the whole thing, and then include a new PowerShell version too. So if you have PowerShell, maybe you don't need this, but it's still pretty cool. Also, good friend Kaz decided to point out that you can do the same thing on Linux, which is great. You have to do display equals :0 to be able to get it on their desktop. And -p says echo the password out to standard out. Of course there's a flag for that. -m also, -m supplies the message. The screen dims, they get this pop-up box. Pretty legit, thanks. So how about screenshotting? Another way to get pretty personal. On OS X, pretty easy. Screen capture -x. The -x causes no sound to fire, no screen flash happens. Perfect. File gets written out to .temp. We can see what they're doing on their screen. Nice. On Linux, I had mentioned this before on Linux, and people were like, use GNOME Screenshot. It's built in. That's going to be great. Well, GNOME Screenshot does make the screen flash and does make a lovely noise. So not so great. Now, I was like, maybe I can move the file, but you need sudo perms to move that file. And I never figured out how to take the screen flash away. So if you need sudo to move that file anyways, may as well just use the gk sudo trick. You may as well use the gk sudo trick, grab their password, and then just install ImageMagick, which gives you the import command, and then you can use the import command to screenshot their desktop. -silent, no screen flash, no noise. -window root grabs their whole desktop, and then vartemp is our output file. Perfect. You can do it the same thing on Windows. When I started looking this up, Microsoft had provided like a whole PowerShell script to do it. So boom, nice. You want to see that again? So maybe it's possible to use OSA script to launch QuickTime and record audio. This is where my little rabbit hole started, and there was supposed to be more of this talk, and suddenly, here's the rabbit hole of recording audio. AppleScript, QuickTime, really buggy, especially on 10.9. I started to feel like this. Here's the story. Beat me a few days ago, decide add this slide recording audio, it's gonna be easy. Start writing some AppleScript, everything's going great, yay. Audio is recording, I'm feeling happy, only took 20 minutes. I'm like patting myself on the back, good job. All I gotta do is save the file. Great, 10 hours later I still can't save the file. Sandboxing issues, permission errors on 10.9. The solutions that worked on 10.8 don't anymore. So I find this solution, fixes the permission error. It ends up using the built-in alias for saving things on the desktop, and it uses Finder to set the path and then kicks it off to QuickTime. No error, everything's great. Except this doesn't work. No file ever gets exported. Apparently export is broken and it's a known bug. FML, right? So I find this solution for recording video, and it works. I'm like, great. Make a few modifications. So when you record with QuickTime, that little box pops up and says, hey, I'm recording. That's bad. I was trying to find a way to hide it, so I just ended up setting the window size to 1 pixel. You don't see it anymore. And then we quit. Now, I was really happy to get this working, and then I used just the move to move the file off the desktop as soon as the command's done executing. But the problem is, it behaves really weirdly. Sometimes, no QuickTime icon at all will pop up in the dock. Sometimes, 2, sometimes 1. Sometimes 1 will bounce. I couldn't recreate anything to happen the same way every time. So there'll be no demos. And it works, but it's not really ideal. So I started from scratch and found that if they have brew installed, it's these 2 commands and you're recording audio that fast. Ooh, how am I on time? Oh, I'm doing good. So recording video, right? We should do that? No, don't be that guy. That's creepy. That's too creepy. Okay, that's all the slides I have. I want to thank my mama, Rapper Jesus, Google, Stimulants, Unassuming Victims, and all of you for listening. I have questions and more stories, and I think we have about 5 minutes. Is that right? Yeah? Cool. All right, are there any questions to start off with? No, what is that? Okay, I'll check it out. Man, there's so many utilities to screenshot on Linux. Thanks, Linux. No more questions? All right, here's a story. I didn't make the slide for it, but I'll tell you the story. How would we go about bypassing 2-factor authentication? Say they use Google on their phone, and whenever you try and log in, they get a text message. And you don't know this. Maybe you take their password using the OSA script technique, and then you try and use that password on Google to log into their Gmail. That works. But you get to see the message that's like, hey, a text message has been sent to your phone with a code. Great. So one way that has worked in the past, and you're not going to believe it, but it's true, is that I just kept doing that all day. I sent them text messages just like once per hour. Towards the end of the day, I called them to help fix this problem that Google servers are having, because I'm a good Google employee, I guess. And I'm like, hey, we've noticed some strange activity on your account. I think it's a problem with your random seed file. If you like, I can fix this problem for you. I'm going to need your next seed token, or actually, I think I said, I'm going to send you a code, and I'll need you to read that back to me, and then we'll be able to resynchronize everything. They're like, oh, yeah, great. Send them the code again. They read it back to me. I'm in their Gmail. I don't think that's going to work all the time. So here's another way to do it. If we steal their password using OSA script, we can then use sudo and that password to take their keychain file. And then we can take their Chrome cookies file. On OS X, Chrome cookies are encrypted with a value that is stored in the keychain. We use a small script that would probably be a good demo right about now. We use a small script to decode and decrypt their Chrome cookies. We then take their Gmail session cookies and we paste them into our Chrome session, and we're logged in. No 2-factor auth if the right cookie's there. Pretty nice. So it is it's tied to geolocation, but not a single IP address. So you have to have the same IP in like the same area that they are. So Amazon Cloud Server set up or Amazon AWS set up a proxy, and then just go through one that is like geographically similar to where they are, and it doesn't prompt you for anything.
I have another one for you. Same line of thinking.
Huh?
So imagine they use 2FA for VPN, but not email. So you already have the creds, you're already in their email. They're using, let's say, semantic bit, which gives you like 5 or 10 digits and like some letters. You just email the help desk people and say, hey, I formatted my phone. Here's my new code. Lol hero.
Nice. Nice. I haven't come into it yet, but I can't wait for someone to have YubiKey, because I'm thinking the right pop-up on their box will get them to punch their YubiKey into it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that YubiKey is like a one-time password. So as long as they don't use that code, it's still valid. Is that right?
Technically, you have the technology to do that already. You can ask,
We-
throw a pop-up that says, give me your creds.
Right.
Say, give me
Well, the OSA script pop-up's a little bit limited. You can only have one input field, and you can't really label it. It's just message, input field, and then you can change the buttons and the icon and the title. So, I mean, it'd be good if we could like create the perfect pop-up that looks exactly the same, but. Oh, really? What's the point of YubiKey then? What is that question again? What are we talking about the same thing? Go ahead. Question again. If they have YubiKey, we can extract it with what? Oh, okay. So there's a library to interact with YubiKey, and you can just extract the password from it. And it's called something. YKPOS. Yeah, it's Australians, man. I do love them. Is that it for questions? Cool. Thank you, everybody.